we're going to do some mental math with percents. I'm going to teach you some tricks on how you can do percentage math in your head pretty quickly. And I actually use this quite often just in my everyday life if I'm shopping and something's on sale, or if I have to get tip at a restaurant. I know it comes printed on the receipts and things, but it's actually not that complicated to just do in your head pretty quickly. So this table gives you some hints here. 25%, that's a quarter, right? I mean, don't we call 25 cents a quarter? So 25% is the same as 1/4, that's a quarter. 50% is half. 75% is 3/4, right? That's what 75 cents is 3/4, so 3/4. Two other percentages that show up quite often are 33 1/3%, that's 1/3, and 66 2/3%, that would be 66.666666, repeating, that's 2/3. So those are easy fractions that a lot of people just sort of know because they use them quite a bit. But if you can compute 10% and 1% in your head, it's actually pretty helpful. So 10% is the same thing as 10 over 100, which reduces to 1/10. And if you want to multiply something by 10% in your head, when you divide by 10, it moves the decimal one place to the left. So if you'll just move the decimal left 1, that's multiplying by 10%. Finding 10% of a number, just move the decimal. If you want to find 1%, that's 1 over 100. That, when you divide by 100, that moves the decimal left 2 places. So 10% and 1% are very easy to do in your head because you just move a decimal. So let me show you some examples. What's 50% of 250? Well, that's like saying what's half of 250? It's 250, right? Half of 200 is 100. Half of 50 is 25. So we're looking at 125. That's half of 250, and I just did it in my head. What is 25% of 800? Well, that's a quarter, or 1/4 of 800. 1/4 of 800. Do you see how you're multiplying? You end up dividing 800 by 4, which is usually easy to do. Most people know 8 divided by 4 is 2. So what's 1/4 of 800? 200. You're just cutting 800 into 4 chunks, and most people can do that in their heads. Here's a 1%. What's 1% of 160? Well, the rule for 1% is you just move the decimal left 2 places. So if I move my decimal left, I get 1.6. That's 1/100th of 160. So move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1.6. Now, if let's say you're out at a restaurant, right, and you need to write a tip. And let's say your bill was $35, right? And you're like, well, what was 10% of $35? Well, 10%, you just move the decimal to the left once. So if I move that decimal to the left once, it would be 350. What is 10% of $35? Just move the decimal, 350. So then how do you do 20%? Well, 20% is 10% plus 10%, right? So 10% and 10% make 20%. So what's 20% of 35? Well, 350 and 350. 350 and 350, most people can do that in their heads too. That's $7. So if you wanted to leave a 20% tip on a $35 bill, it would be $7, right? So these little tricks are really pretty helpful. If you go shopping and something's on sale 20% off or 30% off, I'll figure out, well, what is 10%? And then I'll double it or triple it to figure out what 20 or 30% would be. And that's what the amount of discount is going to be when you buy that item. So with shopping and with tips, when out at restaurants and stuff, I do actually use this quite a lot, but you got to practice at it to get good at it.